How you doing, everybody? It's your boy Wardy, and as you can see, we're back at it talking about the Amazons, and yes, we're back at it talking about Mets and their starting pitching targets this MLB offseason. We have discussed them at great length over the past week, over the past 2 months even, but especially with the latest targets for the Mets reportedly being the likes of Sean Manaea, Hyun-Jin Ryu, Mike Clevenger, Brandon Woodruff, and the biggest name of all outside of Shota Imanaga, Dylan Cease via trade. That played a factor into today's discussion, which has all to do with the Mets and why they should go out of their way to try landing Jesus Luzardo, the young southpaw of a starting pitcher in the Miami Marlins organization, why it could work, why it maybe won't work, and everything in between is what we'll be breaking down in today's video. But before I do that, I have to let you all know about today's video sponsor.
BetUS, America's favorite sports book, where you can bet on everything anytime. Sportsbook, casino, horse racing, live betting, and more. We have the best bonuses in the industry. That's right, get a 125% sign-up bonus. And to celebrate our 30-year anniversary, we are giving up to 30 risk-free bets, a truck, Super Bowl tickets, and more. Don't miss out. Play smart. Join now. BetUS, where the game begins.
Shout out once more to BetUS for being the sponsor of today's video. Make sure you click the link as a suggested with the 125% boost. So that way, if you say deposit $100, you automatically get $225 to work with. They're safe, secure, and reliable. So if you want to get in on NFL playoff action right around the corner, NHL, NBA, you name it, they got you covered here at BetUS for all your sports betting needs. Look at the slates here for this upcoming weekend of games. I'm a Steelers fan, hoping that they can leg out the W. I know the Ravens got Lamar and others potentially benched, so we'll see what happens there. Whoever you're a fan of, whatever you're a fan of, again, make sure you get in on the action today with BetUS, and shout out them once more for being the sponsor of the video. But now let's get back into this discussion. I want to see your initial reactions, thoughts, comments, questions, and concerns to the Mets and the potential fit here with Jesus Luzardo, because I know you probably have questions. Wardy, why didn't you discuss Jesus Luzardo previously? It's a great question, because when I've been asked about Luzardo in previous streams and content, I had some reasons as to why I haven't felt the need to go out of my way to discuss him further, and really it was headlined by two things. One, it's being the Miami Marlins. This is a team in the division, basically a rival. It's not as easy as if, say, the Mets were in the AL to trade with the Miami Marlins, even if they have the assets that is right to acquire the talents of Jesus Luzardo, and the Mets certainly do have that. Now, whether they will be able to best other clubs has yet to be seen, but they do have those assets, and it also comes down to the big one, David Stearns' willingness to trade away some top talented prospects. But given the recent reports connecting the Mets with Dylan Cease, who is on 2 years left of control on his contract, why does that stand out so much to me? Of course, we just did a live show yesterday or so on it. Make sure to check it out if you haven't already, along with all the previous content with all the latest targets in which the Mets have been either connected to or could be connected to for more reasons than one, like Jesus Luzardo here. But getting back into Jesus, what stands out again, can David Stearns be willing? But after the Dylan Cease news has come out, and we all know the Mets are heavily active in the trade market for starting pitching, the stars are aligning for the Mets to hopefully somehow, some way, pull off a trade for someone that is better than a back-end starter. Again, will they be able to do that? Only time will tell. It wouldn't shock me the Mets end up with just a Sean Manaea, Hyun-Jin Ryu, and they call it a day, because unfortunately, there wasn't anything too affordable for them in the trade market. And the free agent market leaves quite a bit to be desired, because you have top names and Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, that price points currently are just astronomical for what you're getting, and the term doesn't fit the Mets both short and long-term plan with some of these guys at their price points. Shota Imanaga, there's contradicting reports I highlighted in yesterday's live stream too, so not exactly sure how much interest level the Mets have there, but we do know reportedly that the Mets are very active in the trade market. Jesus Luzardo has been one of the hottest names sought after among starting pitchers in this year's trade market, and after seeing what teams most recently, like the San Francisco Giants did, and landing Robbie Ray in that trade with the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners may have an opening now to get Blake Snell, but what does this also mean? Not Blake Snell, but Chris Sale getting traded to the Atlanta Braves and signing a multi-year deal. Tyler Glass now getting traded to the Dodgers. Teams are valuing the trade market heavily for starting pitching because they know how ridiculous the free agent market is right now with what the price points are for short-term options, and also what the length and price points are of just mid-term options on, say, 5, 6, 7-year deals. It's definitely not appealing to a lot of these clubs, and they're trying to get creative in the trade front should they have the farm to provide. And the Mets here are in an interesting spot, and as you look at Jesus Luzardo, I got plenty to say here on him in particular, but I will just like to make things once more clear. The reason why I haven't emphasized Jesus Luzardo is because we haven't heard the Mets connected to any trade options that actually are going to cost a decent amount of prospects. Like, we're not talking about like a Nick Pivetta type. We're talking about a Dylan Cease type. That is an ace caliber pitcher at his absolute best. And as we look at Jesus Luzardo here, he's very much along the same length as another guy who very well has ace caliber stuff when he's at his best. He's only 26 years of age. Yes, I still cannot believe that the Oakland A's have the audacity to trade away this man as a young top prospect at the time, you know, just getting his feet wet at the MLB level with the A's. He was getting worked on a bit again. Wasn't really looking too sharp right out of the jump, but was being worked on well, and we all knew the stuff was there. He gets dealt a couple years ago to Miami for a rental Starling Marte. Who did Starling Marte sign with after that? The New York Metropolitans, and he just knocked in an RBI in Dominican Winter League last night. So who knows? Maybe the guy's going to have a bounce back here. But what I do know, again, is that Jesus Luzardo is a phenomenal young talent. He's at the peak of his trade value right now. Marlins fans know that. The Marlins know that, and that's why they have him shopped here in the trade market right now. And again, he will not come at a cheap price. I'll get into two hypothetical trades that, at least in my opinion, could work. However, again, I'm not a GM. I'm not president of baseball operations. I know many fans, either Miami fans, Mets fans, or whoever you're a fan of, are going to drop in the comments saying how ridiculous of a trade proposal that is. That's completely okay if you don't like it. I'm just going to give my reasoning as to why I think these things could be a fit. But as we look at Jesus Luzardo and his game, just look at the numbers. 32 games played, roughly 180 innings this past season for the 26-year-old Southpaw, a 3.58 ERA, a 3.96 expected ERA, a 3.55 FIP, a 1.21 WHIP, and over 200 strikeouts. We're looking at over a 10K per nine, a 10.48 to a 2.77 walks per nine. Jesus Luzardo was absolutely brilliant this season for the Miami Marlins when he was right. And the walk rate, again, respectable there, definitely better than what it was just a couple years ago when he was dealt to the Oakland A's that season, where he was at a career high at the time of 4.5 walks per nine. But when we look at the arsenal for Jesus Luzardo, it's fascinating. You have the four-seam fastball, which is one of the better ones in baseball, sits on average at 97 miles per hour. All of his pitchers are also at least 1 mile per hour up from the 2022 season. So the heat is still coming with Jesus Luzardo, and it wouldn't shock me if it continues to rise at his current projection. His slider has been absolutely disgusting. That is his wipeout pitch. That's where he gets his highest K rate. It is a thing of absolute beauty, especially lefty on lefty. Has the changeup, the sinker, and the cutter. So much to like with this arsenal. And when you look through Baseball Savant's numbers as well, he's in the 66th percentile in pitching run value, 95th percentile in fastball run value, breaking run value, off-speed run value. They're piss poor. They're not great, but again, things he can work on, knowing he has so much talent at this age and multiple years of control, at least 3 here. That also goes in hand with why I'm making this video. This fits the David Stearns philosophy that David said it himself around winter meetings. If the Mets are going to trade away top talent, they need to make sure they're getting multiple years of control of top talent in return. Jesus Luzardo gives you that and then some, and helps solidify your rotation for the 2024 season, but then 2025, 2026, 2027, and hopefully if you extend him, he could be again a long-term pitcher for you and the organization. And he is most certainly a pitcher warranted to have in the org after you see what the 2025 free agent class is going to give you. There's a lot of aces available, so that's why David Stearns is going to be very picky on potential trade options he seeks, because why should he give up all these top talents when you know there's a boatload of aces available next offseason? But not a lot of those aces come at a range of not only price point right now, but also age and upside ceiling. This is Jesus Luzardo. Again, he's a year younger than what we see in Yoshinobu Yamamoto. That's why the Mets want Yamamoto, because he was an ace caliber pitcher, but also 25. Fits the short-term and long-term bill. Jesus Luzardo has similarities in that on right, and that's why he too fits the both short and long-term bill. So again, if you're going to trade away top prospects, there's a select few starters out there that I think are warranted to do that aren't rentals, and Jesus Luzardo now finds himself in that category, knowing that the Mets seem to be more involved in pitchers that are not just back-end rotation guys, highlighted by the Dylan Cease report. So you look at the other numbers I see here: expected ERA, 58th percentile, expected batting average, 62nd percentile, 90th percentile in fastball velo, because again, the guy is an absolute heater. And from the left side, that is absolutely disgusting. Just imagine Jesus Luzardo helping frontline this rotation with the likes of not only Kodai Senga, but also Jose Quintana. That's a nice 1-2-3 for this New York Metropolitan team for 2024. and that gives him a lot more protection. And man, oh man, that velo from Jesus, to go from that to his slide piece is truly a thing of beauty, where the slider sits around 85, 86, but the fastball sits 97, touching triple digits at its best. Chase percentage, 77 percentile. Whip percentage, 86 percentile. K percentage, 82nd percentile. Walk percentage, 65 percentile. Again, barrel percentage, hard hit rate is low. He gets barreled pretty hard. His home run rate was just over 1 this past season. So again, things he can work on. Thankfully, Citi Field, again, is more of a pitcher's park than a batter's park, so that doesn't hurt for the likes of Jesus Luzardo either. And I think with having the type of infield defense he'll have behind him, it certainly is not going to hurt either. And something that really I want to make clear with someone like Jesus Luzardo and why he fits the bill, again, goes in hand with the fact that this is someone that can come in for you, be potentially at his best ace caliber pitcher for you, is only 26, 3 years of control, and there are very few options currently out there in the trade market where teams are shopping these guys. And now let's get into, okay, if the Marlins are actually going to consider the Mets as a suitor, should David Stearns go out of his way to try to make a deal like this happen? Keep in mind, this is the same David Stearns that pulled off the massive Christian Yelich trade with the Miami Marlins all those years ago, and Yelich went from being a solid player to an MVP caliber player once he entered Milwaukee to play with those Brew Crew. But what could you give up for someone like him? Well, I know that the need, at least some needs for Miami, consists of infield help, of course, first base, DH, potentially even long-term, whether it's at third base or other positions in there. Outfield, corner outfield wouldn't hurt them either. So there's two different proposals I've come up with personally. The first one consists of a Florida Miami type native and Mark Vientos. Marky V going back to Florida, where he, of course, has a lot of his family and friends as is. He will then get a chance to be an everyday player there with the Miami Marlins in the DH/first base position. He can really toy with Josh Bell. Sometimes Bell could take first, Vientos is taking DH, and vice versa. Maybe you keep Vientos as your all-time DH there. You get creative with it. One of Luis Angel Acuna or Jet Williams. I don't want to trade either, but the reality is you're going to have to give up a top prospect like this for Luzardo's caliber, his control, and what he brings to you right away at the MLB level. Both these guys project best at the second base position. There's a logjam already. Jeff McNeil likely needs to get traded for either of them to make their Mets debut in the near future, assuming that Jeff doesn't get consistent reps in, say, the corner outfield. So even with all that assumptions, you're still not going to have room for everyone. So one of the two I could see being part of that deal, and a top 20 prospect. Then the other proposal is similar, but I have Ronnie Mauricio. Again, I don't want to trade him, but you have to give to get. Kevin Parada, who of course would help for the Miami Marlins, who could use a top catching talent like Parada's services. Of course, the Mets are not even going to consider the idea of trading Alvarez, but Parada is certainly more expendable, and a top 15 prospect. So Mets fans, Marlins fans, whoever you're a fan of, I want to know, what is your biggest takeaway from today's video? Do you like the idea of pursuing Jesus Luzardo? Do you not like the idea? And among the two proposals I just presented to you, which one do you think is either more appealing for either club? Which one do you think is more realistic? Do you think they're both not realistic and I'm just an idiot? Again, wouldn't shock me either. Whatever your thoughts are, drop them down below. Again, thank you all so much for watching. It is greatly appreciated. Jesus Luzardo, keep an eye on him. He is one of many pitchers out there that I think would bode well for the Mets. But when I mean many, I don't mean many as in there's a lot of great options. I mean many as there's a bunch of guys that could get the job done, but there's a big difference between 100 Ryu and a Jesus Luzardo for the 2024 season. So that's what I'll leave you with. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll talk to you again real soon. Let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.